without being purely poetic, I mean, I can't help it because I'm a rapper, but one of the big things that we were finding here is that the people of Malawi, and they don't just want a handout, they want a hand up, right? It's this, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but it's this idea, instead of merely equality, it's a desire for equity.
Love God, love people, love people, love people. It's the AC Podcast. For the love of God, love people.
Hey everyone, welcome to the AC Podcast. My name is Troy and I am here with Andy Steiger, and we are live in Malawi.
Yes, we are.
We have been here for the last just about 2.5 weeks, I guess, filming a new video series around...
Not 2.5 weeks.
Not 2.5 weeks?
No.
What has it been?
It's been like 10 days.
Oh man, it felt like we have been here for a lifetime. And what's been really great about this is we are learning a lot.
Yeah.
There's been a lot to learn. And one of the things that I have been learning the most is that sugarcane is incredible.
Yes, it is.
Like, this is the real deal.
Yeah, let's just take a look at that.
Yeah.
You see this?
The consistency externally is that of a really dense celery.
I would say this is like chewing on a piece of pine, like wood. Is like
Piece of wood.
tastes like tree to me.
But
it's a tree, but it's like but then it's sugary.
But it's delicious. Yeah, in every way. So let's dive in real quick. Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's good.
That's a delicious pine cone.
Now I'll tell you what. Troy
Yeah,
had some sugarcane in the car,
I did.
and what happened, Troy?
Like a good tourist, I was ignorant and I left this delicious plate of there was a few fragments left on it. I left it in the SUV we were driving, and when I came back after we had had dinner, an infestation of, I believe, every ant in the local area was in the vehicle. Not only did I have ants on the plate, on the seat, I actually had ants in my pants.
Dude,
So
he came out of the car dancing. Unbelievable. Ants in your pants. It's a real thing.
yeah, but the ants here are actually very gentle, which was very encouraging to me. They didn't bite. They just kind of worked their way around my frame, and it was awkward, but I survived.
We're here in Malawi filming this new project on a theology of technology. We've been getting to know a guy by the name of Moses, who is a wonderful guy. He's originally from the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. He lives here now in Malawi. It's an incredible story. We can't get into it all here, but it's this tech journey, actually. The guy who would go on to get an advanced degree in artificial intelligence, but watching as his Christian worldview inspired him to help people along his journey in the work that he's doing here, particularly to help people with food.
Yeah.
Food's a serious issue here, man.
Yes, it is. It really is at the core of the Malawian people. I mean, they're all farmers, right? But then when we've come to realize how much the effects of the climate here, in that they've been having drought for the last several months, or they're leading up to several months of drought, and there's a lot of concern in that area that we, honestly, in the West, would have had no idea about.
And we should say, when we say they're farmers, they're subsistent farmers.
Yeah.
So they are farming to survive.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with different climate issues, your life is in the balance.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges that they face here every year in Malawi is something they call the hungry season.
Yeah.
And the hungry season deals with the reality that in Malawi the weather is 3 months of rain, and it's during that time that they can farm. But then they've got around 8 months where they can't farm, they don't have food, and this is the hungry season. It's a long season.
Yeah. And I know for maybe some of you who are either viewing or listening to this podcast, you're like, I can't even fathom that. And we would 100% agree.
Yeah.
We've been here for a decent amount of time, But every time I hear about the hungry season, more and more, I'm like, God, like, what do we do? Like, I can't reconcile that in my brain that people are preparing to be hungry.
Well, and it's not just hungry either. People starve here. Malawi is the second poorest country in the world.
Yeah.
So it's not only poor, here in Africa. I mean, it is just one of the poorest countries.
Yeah.
And when they're saying the hungry season, I mean, it's starvation.
Yeah.
And people legitimately starve here. And already they're talking about the reality that because of, already the difficult climate of growing here is now compounded because of this drought, that the hungry season is starting earlier.
Yeah.
And starvation is going to be a serious problem, and people are going to die. And you feel the weight of that.
Yeah.
Even as we've been here, you feel the weight of, seeing what they have and realizing that this little that they have is going to be gone soon.
And yet, in the midst of all of that we've been getting involved with, getting informed about, and meeting these farmers and getting in the mix of the community, there is such a joy and a richness in the communities that it's overwhelming, right? Every single community we go to, because we are outsiders, they receive us. And so we show up to a farm or we show up to a community, and immediately we get brought into this, usually it's a church setting, and they start singing songs and worship songs. And the joy is absolutely infectious. Like, you would never know that there is an actual crisis going on because the joy is so evident.
I absolutely love the Malawi culture.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Just one of the things that they love doing two things. They love singing and they love dancing.
Yes.
And so when you come into their village, they welcome you with singing and dancing, and it's almost like they're glad you're there because it's like another opportunity to sing and dance.
Yeah.
and like Troy was saying, they're Christian songs, but man, it has just been so beautiful to witness. Not only did we get welcomed with the singing and dancing, but we actually got gifted a rabbit.
Yes.
In one village. This is something else that they do for people who are welcomed into their village. They will give you a gift. And so they gave us a rabbit, and they gave us, how many carrots was it? It
was like 12 to 15 carrots.
Yeah.
Which again is like, what do you mean you're going to gift us carrots when, after telling us how hard it has been to get a harvest, how to get a crop this year, and now you want to bestow this gift on us? But it's this awareness of, we recognize you've come here to help. And so we want to honor you in that. And it's just the greatest displays of selflessness that you would never imagine. Because I know for myself, right, there's been times where, maybe I've been struggling or things haven't been going the greatest. I'm not always generous in my thought process. I'm thinking, I got to fix this problem. I got to fix this issue. But that's not happening here. And it's incredible to see.
By the way, I should say that when they gave us the rabbit, Troy grabbed it immediately and killed it and ate it.
No. See, look.
But he did ask me, he's like, can we take this home? I'm like, Troy, no, man, you can't.
I was, again, trying to be polite. I'm like, we're going to have to get a cage or something, but we have food to provide, so I guess we'll be okay. But no, we
gifted it back.
Yeah, it was more of a ceremonial thing where it was a recognition from the community that we're at in Cheu, that they were just saying thank you to us and our team. And just real quick, I want to give a big shout out to our team. They have been so flexible while we have been here. It's been a lot of go.
Well, over the years with AC, we've done a number of different film projects, but this one was unique because we invited a group of people with us. There was about 10 of us in total. Never done that before, where we allowed various people to come and join us, not only for the film part, but for the ministry. And we got grant funding to do this project to also host a tech summit.
Yeah.
So there were various people on the trip that came with a tech background, and were interacting with those here in Malawi that were in the tech industry, and that was really cool.
It was really, really cool because you have people that, much like Moses, have a desire to see Malawi grow and thrive in technology. And so they basically literally all came together, came to this event. We, again, didn't know how many people were going to be there. And
we had 75 people in Malawi apply.
Yeah.
We only had funding for 20, because we paid everything. We paid their transportation, we paid their accommodation, everything. And we we wish we could have hosted even more, because it was such a good time. And the people were just so appreciative, and it was wasn't it encouraging just to see how many of them were doing great work here in Malawi. Many of them in tech, also many of them in different church ministry and NGO work that was really inspiring.
Yeah, it was cool meeting also a gentleman who was a recording artist as well. And it's just funny how these small things, whether it's tech or worship or music, can just draw people together. Because the moment I told him I was an artist, we ended up having this 15-minute conversation, and just excited to get to know each other. We were sharing.
Well, and I met
stories.
a guy that was in apologetics that had his doctorate in the area of theology, and we had an amazing conversation together. Again, one of those moments that just expands your worldview, and you begin to appreciate what's happening around the world, even in places like Malawi, where a lot of people haven't been to. But if they have been to Malawi, I'll tell you one place that they probably haven't been to is the refugee camp here. That was, life-changing experience. Yeah,
life-changing is probably the best way to put it. We got to go to a UN refugee camp in Saleka, and from the moment we arrived, your heart is just gripped.
Well, because you're not even sure what you're gonna, experience. There's 45,000 people in this refugee camp, and as you come into the camp, that's in the kind of the middle of nowhere. Man, just the level of need is kind of overwhelming. I mean, you got people here from all over Africa that are in different war-torn areas that are fleeing for their lives, and they find themselves in Saleka.
Yeah, it gave me a lot of perspective, because even in British Columbia, at my church, I have some friends who lived in refugee camps for 10 years. And in my mind, I was like, what was that like? You're always trying to paint this picture, but now being at Saleka, I have just a fragment of just what I'm seeing, let alone, we didn't sleep there. We didn't have to spend, the night there or anything of that nature, but just even the day of being there, I was like, wow.
I mean, these people are stuck there. If they get to leave, it's for a day on a day pass. But this is their life living there, and many of them will live and die in this refugee camp. It's very hard to get out. But these are people that really surprised me with their ingenuity and their tenacity. One of the things that really hit me was while we were there, we met with a group of young tech entrepreneurs that actually got picked up by Microsoft with, I guess, some of the stuff that they had been doing. But we saw just some of the work that they're doing with coding and starting up, creative business opportunities there in the refugee camp. Really blew my mind, particularly when we saw their passion for the Lord.
So we're already having conversations about tech, and, we're filming, and anyone who's ever done any kind of filmmaking or documentary, you're always trying to curate a story to a certain degree. You're trying to get it to point in a certain direction. Obviously, for Apologetics Canada, we're always looking for the gospel. We're always looking for the truth of Jesus in it. And very, very organically, as we're talking to them about technology, one of the things they said was, the reason we do this the way we do is because of Jesus. Our foundation for our ethics in how we deal with people and deal with people in the refugee camp and abroad is through the lens of the gospel, because that's what brings us together. And that was just incredible to hear. And we're, Andy and I are looking at each other like, God, this isn't a story we have to build. You're already writing this. This is in real time.
Because this is one of the big parts of our project here. And when we're talking about theology of technology, we're asking, what is the worldview that you bring to the tech that you're creating or that you're using? And to just see that immediately with these guys, that they're bringing their Christian worldview to the tech, and to see how it's guiding them, that was exactly why we're here.
And again, as we're talking to them about, the business that they've kind of started, essentially it's a platform so that people from the refugee camp who have different skills in online work like web designing, chat bots, or graphic designing, they basically get put into a pool that these group of guys kind of coordinate, and they can apply for jobs. So someone like myself or Andy, we could go online and we could say, hey, I need a poster done for a conference. We could go to their website, which we're going to put in the show notes for you at the end, and I could post it on their website. They decide whether or not they want to choose it for the people that are in the refugee camp.
Yeah,
and then
they have the skills and talents to do it.
And then they can select. And then within the refugee camp, they were even saying, we want it to be competitive. And so they post it, and then from there, they get to choose who's going to be the best person suited for that job. And one of the things one of the guys was saying was, we don't want you to choose us just because we're poor refugees. We don't want you to just select us because, we're in a refugee camp and we can't leave. We want you to choose us because we have the ability and you have a need.
Yeah. I mean, this was something that really hit me, Troy, as we've been here, is that you really get an appreciation for people's need for work.
Yeah.
The unemployment here in Malawi is between 60 and 70%, which is staggering. So more people don't have jobs than have jobs by far.
Yeah.
And to see how that affects people's identity, their self-worth, and just even their daily, drive to live.
Yeah.
Really, really hit me because, in the refugee camp, you could tell, getting out was one thing, but they wanted to have meaningful work to do.
Yes. Yeah. And I think one of the things we were constantly saying is, how do you come to a place like this, for giving a prime example, Malawi as a whole, but then also the refugee camp, and not gaslight the West, right? Because naturally, maybe some of you have been listening or you're watching and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I need to be more grateful for what I have. And, they got way more problems than we do. And the truth is Malawi has their problems, but they also have their progress. They also have their successes, just like the West. And the truth is, there are some very obvious differences in regards to work and things like that. But one of the things that I've constantly been getting challenged on this trip is not to think about what I'm not doing, but more so think about what I have and how I'm using it.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about that, particularly in the area of technology. And are we using our technology in ways that are productive, that is our technology being used as a tool to solve problems, or is it being used as a weapon to create problems?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, Troy, but honestly, the more I'm here, and I'm realizing that this is a global question. I mean, a lot of the issues that we got in the West, they got here, such as social media.
Yeah.
Social media is a serious challenge here. TikTok is a serious issue.
TikTok is still a problem here.
And we even saw that with some of the people we were talking to, like. You could tell that some of their worldview was being really shaped by the social media that they were consuming from the West.
From the West.
And that one really hit home because I'm like, man.
Yeah, I had to calm them down.
I know. I'm like, it hurts that we're exporting a lot of our nonsense from the West, abroad, and we see the issues that are here. And I'm like, there were times where I'm like, I'd like to see a little more passion about, your own country.
Yeah.
Where it's so easy to get caught up in whatever is trending on social media. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Well, what's trending in your backyard, man? Like what's trending in your family? What's trending in your community? Are you dialed into that? And is your Christian worldview, challenging you to do something?
Yeah. It's without being purely poetic. I mean, I can't help it because I'm a rapper, but one of the big things that we were finding here is that the people of Malawi, and they don't just want a handout, they want a hand up, right? It's this, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but it's this idea, instead of merely equality, it's a desire for equity, right? It's recognizing the needs that are going to help them go further, rather than it's just going to, kind of help us stroke our ego. And
and equity is a kind of a term right now that can be weaponized and used in different ways.
True.
So what I think you're getting at is this idea that people need both.
Yeah.
A hand out and a hand up.
Yeah.
One of the things Moses talked to us about is he said, listen, it's one thing to teach somebody how to fish so that they can, provide for themselves, but you need to give them a hook. You need they need a fishing pole. How teaching them how to fish, but then they have no.
But
hooks.
then you walk away with the fishing.
They're like,
lures.
"Oh, that's great. That was great."
Cool.
And so that was something that we saw here that often in the West we take for granted.
Yeah.
For example, here in Malawi, the newest computer that you can buy is like a 2016 computer. If you want a new one, like from what we understand, they don't exist.
Yeah,
here.
it just doesn't happen.
Just doesn't happen. For us, I mean, we just toss our computers after a couple years, sort of thing.
Or again, like I'm saying, trying not to gaslight, or we complain that it's not the newest model.
Right. And here they're just like, man, it'd be great to have a computer so I could, work.
Yeah.
Another one that's huge is, we were a part of this filming project. We've been talking about helping farmers, subsistent farmers, so that they can feed themselves through the dry season. It's one thing to teach them how to use something like a drip line, but it's another thing to go, hey, here's a drip line.
Yes.
We're going to teach you how to use it. And one of the things that they're actually doing here that's really interesting is they're incorporating it as a part of the economy.
Yes.
The economics of it, so that it's actually not even necessarily giving these things away, but saying, here, I'm going to teach you the tools, and then you can get microloans so that you can get these tools, and then you can pay it back as you're starting to now not only provide food for yourself, but the people here actually with these drip lines can provide not only enough food for themselves to eat, but they can actually provide enough to sell it into the market.
Yeah.
And now you've got an economy going.
Yeah, that was a big thing, was the desire to build infrastructure, something that is going to last, something that is going to sustain. And I mean, maybe there's not time for that on this podcast, obviously, but it raises a big question about our missions work. It really, really does. And the way that we have been seeing missions, and not to say that what we've done hasn't been.
Yeah, we're not trying to throw mud here, but
no.
But sometimes mission work can lose its focus.
Yeah. When
it just becomes a handout, and you really haven't actually helped that person to get out of poverty. I mean, you could imagine it here. You could just every hungry season we're going to have some handouts and stuff, but you're never really helping the people learn and developing the economy here to get out of that. So that there are no, I look forward to the day that there is no hungry season.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that the people have not only the knowledge but the tools so that they can provide for themselves. I mean, that should be the desire.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want to get too political here, but I've been in ministry long enough, I've been in mission work long enough, that the mindset of the certain ministries that are helping people should have the mindset of, one day I shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
One day we shouldn't be needed.
Yeah. Are you working yourself out of a job? Right? That's leadership 101. Are you making room so that what you've been pouring resource and time into will outgrow you? Will it live beyond your name, essentially?
Yeah, you're helping people so that that eventually they're not going to need your help anymore. I mean, that should be the goal.
Yeah.
Listen, that wasn't, we don't have to go down that rabbit trail, but I think it is something we have to think about because, again, the issues that are going on here, there are similar issues that are going on back home.
Yes.
That we need to think more about, and that I think, quite honestly, that we can, use technology, allowing the Christian worldview to lead us, that we can solve, real problems that we have, not only here in Malawi, but back home. Yeah.
And it honestly reminds me of a podcast we did recently where we were talking about, the Lord giving you enough vision that you're willing to stay the course. Mm-hmm. And I think this is what excited us the most about truly partnering with Moses, right? Partnering with Moses and Ufanuzi and Well of Plenty and Fruitful Mart is because Moses says, I want to stay here.
Yeah, we should just mention, I mean, we're talking about a local, we're talking about a guy born in Africa, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, that wants to stay and help with his people.
Yeah, and by his people he means Africa, right? It's been incredible because he's trying to establish these things in Malawi, he's already got his sights set on the next country that he can go to. And I'm like, God, what does that look like for us?
And let me just say something about that, man. I don't know about you, but here's one of the things that's been on my heart, especially if we've been talking about technology here.
Yeah.
And even as we were talking about technology with those with the guys in the refugee camp, we're just saying, because they were bringing this up too, where they're like, man, our technology, if we're not careful, is really using us instead of us using it.
Yeah.
Because I look at what's going on right now with our young people, and old. Come on, it's with all of us.
Let's be fair. Your
right?
mother and your father are on Facebook talking to grandma.
Or we're just glued to our phones.
Yeah.
Our devices have become very addictive.
Yeah.
And if we're not careful, they consume us.
Yeah.
And yet there's real world problems going on. There is challenges amongst us, and it's like, can I see beyond my screen to see what's going on and actually participating in the needs in the world?
Yeah,
and in my community.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these guys at the refugee camp were saying it's crazy how things like TikTok, they sell on this idea of an infinite loop. And they're saying in the coding world, an infinite loop is like a disaster. That is the last thing you want to see. But look at our culture. It is based on cycles. And these are
just
where
scrolling.
And these are just the snares of the enemy, to be honest. He doesn't read your mind, but it'd be fair enough to say that you read patterns of people, you read cycles, and therein lies, you can set traps for people when you know that you can get them stuck in a cycle, an algorithm, or
this maybe would be a good podcast for another time, but AI is an opioid of sorts that we've created.
Yeah.
It's an addictive drug, if you will, where you're feeding your mind this short, especially the TikTok content sort of thing. And intriguingly enough, I don't know if you saw this, but Netflix and another of other streaming agencies are starting to move to short content now. And
looping content.
Yes.
Right. You can go from, you could start one episode, and next thing you know, you've watched 10, and before Netflix says, hey, are you still watching this? Because they've made it seamless. The intros, if you watch on your TV series, when you watch the first episode and first couple, that intro video is longer. But some of the newer ones, that intro gets very, very short, so you don't even know that you've crossed over into a new episode.
And, my point bringing this up, our point bringing this up, is that we need to think more deeply about technology.
Yeah.
Technology can be used for good.
Yes, it
Technology can be used for evil.
Yeah.
And we really have to be asking ourselves, am I using my technology positively, or am I using it negatively? And one of the things, Troy, that I've been thinking a lot about, and this might help you listeners as you're navigating technology, is just to ask simple questions like, is my technology helping my relationship with God?
Yeah.
Is my technology helping my relationship with people? Because the truth is, technology can be awesome. While we've been here in Malawi, we've been able to call our family. We've been able to do work and stay in contact. That's good.
That is good.
Right? But yet there's that flip side to it where technology can become very controlling and very harmful. And you need to be asking yourself, okay, how is this impacting me? How is this impacting my relationships with people and with God?
Yeah.
And it's something that I am constantly asking myself these days.
Yeah. Maybe that's probably a good place to start, to kind of wrap this up, because, it is an ongoing conversation, right? But I think that conversation, like Andy is saying, it starts with you and the Lord, quite honestly. No one can really tell you what areas of your life you've gotten maybe caught in this cycle of just consuming whatever is thrown at you, right? We, even here on this podcast, like very, very humbly have come here and said, teach us what is happening here in Malawi. Don't teach us so that we can fix the problem, but teach us so that we can be a part of assisting in any capacity, and teach us. There's a lot of things. My wife may love this, right? Because I'm seeing all these things about the drip line and the farming, and I'm thinking about my little garden back home that got scorched by the sun in the lower mainland, which gets lots of rain. And I'm like, oh, this is exactly what I'm going to do at home. So, Jasmine, I'm coming home to make a drip line, I guess. But
dude, hanging baskets are nice. Trust me, man.
Yes, I want it. I want this, but.
Have you found yourself strangely attracted to plants?
I am, and it's weird, but I realize that I'm pushing 40, I guess. I just need to get the clogs in the garden, and we're
just
ready.
Just embrace it, man. Just embrace.
I'm ready.
Clogs in the garden.
I'm ready. But again, like we were saying, this isn't an exhausted conversation, but it's definitely one.
Hope it gets you thinking.
We hope it gets you thinking.
It's really made us think. Looking forward to this new series coming out.
Yeah. Zakomo Kwambiri, to Moses, to Well of Plenty, to Fruitful Mart, and all of the people that came to the Tech Summit and that we've got to interact with. It has been incredible. Malawi, as they call it, the warm heart of Africa, you have stolen our hearts as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your hospitality and for allowing us to come here and share just a fraction of the good work that you are doing in Africa and what you are allowing God to do here. But you guys know the drill.
Whoa. I got this.
Huh?
As they say in Malawi, up, Jesus.
Up, Jesus.
That is a thing they say in all the churches, and it's awesome.
It's incredible.
And they also sometimes throw in there, down, Satan.
We especially love that part as well. But love God, love people.
Bye for now.